As with many other challenges in the past, I faced the pandemic head-on with much support from my colleagues and administrative team. I realized yet again that my purpose and focus is on building relationships and making connections to my students, my colleagues, and my community. This global pandemic was no different. My interaction with the pandemic began in mid-February. I had just returned from a national conference as news grew about the COVID-19 and its effects on the world. A colleague approached me. It was apparent that he was concerned about what he would do if COVID did affect us. I needed to support him and our colleagues so that they could meet their own expectations of being the best in their classroom, regardless of the situation. Well, I didn't originally think that COVID would get to the point that it did. I took his concerns seriously. Through much research, I found resources to help us prepare. I found several opportunities to support classroom instruction during a possible shutdown. I was overwhelmed by the material, but I quickly learned, and I shared those lessons with my whole digital integration team and my administration. We then developed a best practices guide for virtual learning. So when the call came on March 12th and South Carolina went into pandemic mode, my CMS team was ready. Our technology goals from the previous years already had our faculty using all of the technology tools needed. They were using Google Classroom, Pear Deck, Google Forms, and many other quick data collection technologies. Our students were also comfortable with these tools as they were using them consistently. So they were able to adjust much more seamlessly than the others across the world. Our teachers moved into the virtual world with confidence. It was difficult, but they were confident and committed, and frankly, they were amazing. I was proud when my principal stood before many district and community members and mentioned how far ahead of the curve my faculty was. They were very advanced technologically. While other schools across the nation were learning how to operate technology, our staff was able to focus on student welfare and maintaining relationships with students. CMS was able to foster relationships, which was so vital at that time. While it was being reported that many students went MIA around the world, CMS could report the whereabouts and the welfare of 100% of our students. Since our staff was so comfortable using technology, I was able to focus on parents and grandparents that were using technologies for the first time. I held many sessions via one-on-one phone calls or Google Meets. I was able to help educate guardians and develop their confidence in this new technological setting. It is extremely rewarding when a previously lost or frustrated guardian sends an email to my principal stating how I saved their family from complete disaster. During this time, I was able to provide coaching on productive instructional strategies and build teachers' confidence regarding when and if they should use technology at all. Because I had previously built those relationships with my faculty, teachers felt comfortable to ask questions and try new strategies in a judgment-free zone. They had no fear of failure, no fear of judgment. So although I love my job of teaching teachers and students to use technology, I am so grateful for the opportunity to be able to focus on being a better builder of relationships. This is the goal I embraced during the pandemic and will continue to embrace moving forward. When not able to meet face-to-face for Dine with the DIS experiences, these were our lunchtime enrichment opportunities for our students. I created virtual opportunities for my students to meet and continue making connections. I created an enrichment website to assist teachers and parents to find engaging and creative activities for their children. I rejoiced when students and faculty were using Flipgrid and they were posting to share stories and make connections even though we couldn't be physically together. When we returned to school in a totally new and hybrid virtual 5 setting and needed new ways to build unity, I embraced this challenge. I created an online Chapin's Got Talent. I moved Tuesday and Thursday Dine with the DIS activities to Wednesday lunchtime, so all of CMS students, hybrid and 5, had the opportunity to be together. I used our grade level Google Classrooms to share engaging activities and opportunities with the entire school. CMS now even has a new family member in MoonPie. As we adopted this cow through Discover Dairy, when asked why a cow, I said, why not? Through this program, CMS has had the unique experience of unifying our community by focusing on this dairy cow. We have watched her grow and each month participate in one-of-a-kind activities that connect us in other ways that we have not done before. Students and parents have built a website to share MoonPie updates. Teachers and students participated in MoonPie social and emotional scavenger hunts. They sent encouraging messages to each other and they competed in coloring contests. So at a time when students' stress levels are high, we have been able to promote valuable self-care while paying homage to a cute and loving cow. So when asked how I embrace the challenges of teaching in a pandemic, I did it like I would do any other year, by building and making connections. The respectable, responsible, I heard you say, and
remarkable.
So we're going to do something that, in my opinion, is totally remarkable. Okay? And luckily for us, the VR kits are back. Yay! We have not used the VR kits this 2 months. We've used them in Dine with the DIS, but that's it. We haven't been using them because of the whole COVID thing, and I thought it would be uncomfortable for you guys to use that while you had your masks on. Wasn't sure if we were going to have masks or not today, but we do have masks today. So let me just go ahead and start this process by letting you know what we're going to do. So y'all are reading a read aloud right now with your teacher, correct?
Yeah.
What is that? Is the title 9/11? Ground Zero. The book is called Ground Zero, and it occurs on 2 dates, because there's 2 different stories going on, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
What's one of the dates?
9/11, 2001.
9/11, 2001. And who is involved in the story for 9/11, 2001? Brandon. And he gets himself in a little bit of school trouble, and he has to go to work with his dad, correct? When he gets to work with his dad, he sneaks out to go get that glove, right? And he gets in an elevator, and what happens while he's in that elevator?
He got stuck. Plane bomb.
A plane hits the World Trade Center. But sometimes when you guys are looking at history, you kind of pay attention to the points, but you forget about the emotion behind it. So your teachers do an amazing job. How many people think this story is really cool that you're reading right now? Right? But this really happened to people. So your teacher's giving you the story to make that connection, so that you're making a connection to the history, so that the history is no longer boring, so the history means something to you. Has anybody gone to New York City? Have you gone to New York City and seen the memorial to 9/11? When you went, did you have a history behind what had happened? As you're reading the story, are you making more connections to that memorial now? And thinking, wow, this is amazing. One of the boys in the last class was like, I've been there, I just never thought of it this way. He kind of walked with his parents, and it really affected his parents, but it didn't affect him as much. Because you guys didn't have that experience. So what we're going to do today is we're going to give you that experience. We're not going to give you the experience, thank God, that Brandon had, but we're going to give you the experience of going up to the World Trade Center prior to the airplanes. You're going to go in and you're going to go up to the top of the World Trade Center, and you're going to overlook off the observation tower, take you via virtual reality to the memorial. So for those of you that weren't able to raise your hand, you're going to actually go through the memorial. When you get into the Google Earth story, you're going to say it says Ground Zero Connections. we're making connections to the Afghanistan part of the story. I'm taking you to Kabul, which is the biggest city in Afghanistan. That's their capital. And I want you to look at it, and I want you to talk about it with your classmates. I want you to see, compared to the World Trade Center where we're going, that's the biggest city in this country. Just look at how the differences between and similarities between the cities. Explore away, but also when you're in the present mode, you'll notice that there's pictures. When you go to Asadabad, there's a quote that I give you right there. And then there's pictures of what life is like. So you are welcome to look through those pictures also. You'll see, I don't think you're to this point yet in your story, but you'll see when Rashima starts talking about how the houses are built. Okay? So this is, our goal is for you to make that connection today. All right? Now, a lot of times when you're in school, you're encouraged to shh and do it and shh and do it. You can talk. I want you to talk with the people at your tables. I want you to talk about what you're seeing. I want you to make the connections to the story. This is before the attacks. If your headset does not work, just raise your hand.
What do we need to
Go. You have to keep it up to your head.
Oh my gosh, swearing.
I'm coming.
Oh yeah. I'm going to throw up.
If the virtual reality part is going to make you nauseous, you can look right up here at the TV.
No, wait, how do I change it?
This doesn't even want to turn on. Flashing.
I know.
Okay, yours is working. You just gotta hold it up to your face.
Miss Powers.
Which are so cool, and you're doing good work. But the reason,
Just so you can have an extra experience there. For you guys participating in Afghanistan, are you checking it out? Well, are you zooming in and looking at the land?
What the heck?
I feel like I can just like fall in the tower.
Pakistan people, if you hold shift and one of the arrow keys, you change the perspective. Did you know it's really
This one is honestly the best. Look, I can see you.
Alright. You guys ready for the memorial now? Well, the headsets are on. We are now, you're looking at One World Trade Center. This is one of the rebuilt buildings.
I think it's still black.
It's so
Okay, and you might want to.
Look at the top. Look at the top of the tower. What the heck is happening? Wait, look up.
Are you touching the buttons? Alright, why don't you just jump in over here with these guys, and then when we swap out between the headsets, I'll give you another headset. Things are getting there. And that's what we're going to do next.
If we look
You can watch up here. It keeps dying.
We're at Memorial.
Yeah, well, these are videos that you're looking at through this program that
it looks a bit different.
did it and then I moved up. Hey.
If you're using the headsets and they are making you a little dizzy, you're welcome to just look up here and see what we're looking at.
You're making me.
So we're going to look for about another minute. So check out Afghanistan for another minute.
I don't know. I'm walking a mile in my I do what I do then don't judge me.
This little area, and then when you go out of these cities and you go into the mountains, it's a lot different. You guys are sharing here, and you're doing, you're in here exploring. You hit shift, and the up and down arrows, it changes the angle that you're looking. So you can see a different perspective.
Oh my God.
I took 99 damage. Sheila, are you
Alright, so what we're going to do is while you guys go to lunch, I'm going to go ahead and charge these up because we've been having some die, and that's why. So thank you to those of you that swapped over and went to Afghanistan. I appreciate that. It was a really super quick trip for you to go from New York City to Afghanistan, but you did it very quickly. Thank you for getting my joke. Alright, what we're going to do now is we're going to only watch just the beginning of the memorial.
I saw that thing.
So that's the elevator motor. You guys were with Brandon when the elevator slammed down, right? Fell a little bit. That's what the motor would have looked like. You guys ever heard of the word empathy?
Yes.
What does empathy mean?
Putting yourself in other people's shoes.
Yes, putting yourself in other people's shoes. When you're reading this book, right? You're reading this history. Were you guys here in 2001? No. How can you put yourself to understand what Brandon went through, what these other people went through when you weren't even here? It's just another story, right? So your teacher giving you books like this, us giving you experiences like this, lets you make that story impact you a little bit more. Okay? So we're trying to give you a feeling of what Brandon was going through that day. But in our story, we also talked about another part of the world. Afghanistan. And we might not always agree with it, right? And where you guys are now in the story, I think Passoon has gone up into the mountains, and who's he looking for?
The Taliban.
The Taliban. Is although we love America and we love this part, we also want to have some understanding and some empathy for what Rashmina and Passoon are going through. And that's why we took you to Afghanistan today using Google Earth. The purpose of today was for you to get a little bit more of an experience that Brandon and Rashmina and Passoon are going through in their Ground Zero book. So what I'm going to ask you to do now is just think about this. This experience that you had today, is it helping you make a connection to what you're hearing in the book? See, so for some people they're saying it's really making a connection with Afghanistan, correct?
Yes.
Because you're getting to see where they live.
Yeah.
And even though we might be really angry with Passoon, imagine if he's not hearing what the rest of the world hears. And he's only hearing what one small group has to say about Americans. Am I saying that what he's doing is right? No. But can I understand why he would think that way?
Yes.
Right? So there was a quote on there that talked about walking in someone else's shoes. So today you got to walk just a little bit in Rashmina and Passoon's shoes, okay? You guys are going to be asked to make a connection.